All right, we're gonna get started as people trickle in. So, hi everyone, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're from. Thank you all for joining us today. We know it's a busy time of year, so thank you all for taking the time to listen in. If you have been to other user summits in the past, this is our time to tell you guys what we've been up to in the last year and what we have planned for the next year. So we're excited to let you guys know that and share everything. So I am going to kick off a couple housekeeping things per usual. So mics and cameras are going to be disabled for everyone but speakers. Please ask questions or if you have any comments with the Q&A button that's highlighted. It should be on your bar at the top. There's going to be polls that pop up throughout our webinar today. It should, once it's launched, it should pop up on the middle of your screen for you guys to answer. If you want to revisit the polls, just click that polls icon at the top as well. This meeting is going to be recorded, so if anyone has to leave early or if you have someone on your team that wasn't able to make it, the recording will be sent to those immediately after. If you were registered. If you weren't registered, we're going to get that video out to you guys up on YouTube, up on our website as soon as we can. So thank you all. I'm going to hand it over to Michelle. She's going to kick us off with the agenda and her segment. And thank you all.
Thanks, Courtney. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Just wanted to start by giving a shout out to those of you who have made it through another year of asset management. Yay, everybody, good job. And also, just in case, because I know we could have prospects on here, welcome to those of you who still are in the, oh my gosh, there has got to be a better way to do this phase. We're familiar with that. It's okay to be there. It's okay, just know we're here. And either way, we're really happy that you're here with us today. So let's go ahead and get started. We have a lot to talk about. The agenda, I'm going to start off by giving a super high level of our most recent AssetTrack 6.0 release. I am going to do a customer spotlight, which I am very excited about. We hear you guys, especially me, when you tell us we want to hear from customers. We want to know what are customers doing that we don't know that maybe we should be doing. So we have a special guest today, and I'm really excited about that portion. 2025 operational highlights. You're going to hear some things of what we're doing this year in that area. And then, of course, absolutely, our CEO, Tom, is going to be on later to talk about next year and beyond that. Super exciting as well. And then last but certainly not least, as Courtney had mentioned, Q&A, ask your questions. We will have the Q&A session at the end. And let's kick this off with a poll question. What were your biggest hardware asset management pain points? Top 2 from this year. Here comes the poll. All right, when do we get this? Oh, here it is. This is the fun part when we start seeing it move and seeing people answer. All right, inaccurate or outdated asset data, that's huge. And hardware lifecycle, so basically the life cycle from procurement or receiving to disposition. Good, that's normal. You guys just know it's normal. It's okay to be there. That's why you're here today. So let's go ahead and keep on going. And I am going to talk at a high level about, again, our most recent release, AssetTrack 6.0. So before AssetTrack 6.0, things were set up in a really logical way, where your hardware forms wrote to your hardware table, consumable forms wrote to your consumable table, facilities to your facilities table, and so on, right? And that model worked, and many of you have been using it very, very successfully for a really long time. The challenge wasn't ever that it was wrong, but as our customers grew, it started to feel a little rigid and quite frankly inefficient. So supporting new asset types and maybe even a slightly different workflow, it often meant we had to create a whole new set of forms. So a set of forms for assets, a separate set for consumables, a separate set for facilities or wearables or whatever it is that you're tracking. right? But it's the same logic, and it had to be stored in multiple places. So the question really became, how do we keep that the good core capability, but do it in a much more unified, mature, scalable way? So really what we did is we introduced a single parent unified asset entity. And now forms can point from to one parent asset uh, from AssetTrack to the asset table in ServiceNow. And instead of pointing to all of those separate hardware table, consumable table, facilities table, what happens is once it's updated on that asset table, it will cascade those changes down to the appropriate asset specific table. So we update asset and then it corresponds down to hardware, consumables, or facilities instead of having to have separate forms to write to each one separately. So practically, that means we've moved from designing one form per asset type, so a deploy asset form separate from a deploy consumable form, and so on, to designing one form experience that can be adapted to different asset types, no matter what that asset type is. And it's the same idea as before. We just feel like we've implemented it in a much more centralized and flexible way. So from that, the benefit is that your day-to-day work becomes much more smoother and consistent. Users get one form experience, like I mentioned earlier, that works across all different asset types. So instead of jumping between slightly different versions of the same form, you just can do it all at once. So think about it. You have a new employee and you want to deploy assets, right? Because you always have to do that. You're deploying assets to new users in one single form now. You can deploy the assets, the consumables, and anything else that they might need all at once. And also from an administration or an admin perspective, there's far less duplication because the shared logic lives in one place now, right? Instead of being copied across multiple forms. So instead of having to change or tweak or maintain 3 deployment forms, you only have to maintain one. And it also makes onboarding AssetTrack users much simpler too, right? No new users, they only have to learn one way to work with the assets. And as your environment grows and you introduce new asset types, like maybe you're only tracking assets right now, but you want to add consumables, you won't have to add a whole nother set of forms for that. It can all be done in the same form. So that's huge. And that structure will give you a much cleaner foundation to build on so the system can scale without becoming super complex on the back end. And I just want to say this before we move on to the next segment, and that is if you're already using AssetTrack, you can upgrade to 6.0 without disrupting your existing forms. So they will continue to work and they will still point to where they do today. It's just if you are interested in using the new unified asset entity, just reach out to us and we'll be happy to help you with the transition. And there are plenty of smaller enhancements that are also a part of 6.0. This is the core new capability. I'm just giving it to you at the 10,000 foot view. I highly recommend at least skimming through the release notes. And of course, sending us any questions. We're always happy to help. All right, now to a much more interesting topic, customer spotlight. So I'm really excited to introduce David Duncan. He's the IT hardware relationship manager at AAA. For the past 5 years, AAA has used AssetTrack to manage over 50,000 assets, IT and payment devices across 13 different states, supporting 11,000 employees, most of which are sitting in a remote location like their homes. So you can imagine David plays a key role in keeping their hardware environment really running smoothly. And we're really thrilled to spotlight their experience today. So before I get into it, welcome, David.
Hi, Michelle. Welcome. Thanks.
Yeah, and thank you for turning on your camera for us today. David, you are using AssetTrack in a way that's completely different than most of our other customers are. You are taking a core capability and you've applied it in a completely creative way to solve a problem that you guys had at AAA. So with that said, what problem were you trying to solve when you first decided to use AssetTrack for managing your credit card readers?
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. And glad to be here. Yeah, the problem that we had encountered was with our credit card devices and the auditing of those devices. We have a field controls group that works with all of our branch offices and basically any location that has a credit card device that takes credit card information or PII information. And they were having to go through the branch managers were having to go through and physically inspect each and every credit card they had device that they had at their location each and every day. They had to record it into an Excel spreadsheet. Then they had, at the end of the week, they had to submit that Excel spreadsheet to the field controls office and to audit. And then once a month, they would have to go through and do a summary of all of that and submit that as well. So field controls had come to me and said, hey, is there a better way of doing this? This is taking up a lot of time for our managers, and we just did this self-certification audit. What can we do? So that really kind of opened up the door. I said, hey, I think if I can, talk with, Michelle and Jeff at AMI, we might be able to do something here. So with that, we were able to then redefine the form in that, identified by the form factor model being a credit card device, to create a form link on our ServiceNow main page to where when a user comes in, they simply log in, come in, inspect their device. It takes about 30 seconds after they log in to click the link. It recognizes through single sign-on who they are, what assets they have assigned to them. It's only bringing up the credit card device that they have assigned to it. And they're simply answering a question. Has it been, I have the device, it's not been tampered with, or hey, the device has been tampered with, which kicks off a whole nother discussion here that we can probably talk about in a few minutes. But all in all, the process, became very streamlined, and it gave our field controls group and our audit group a real-time reporting for all of these devices, and alerted us immediately if there was a problem with the device.
That's cool. So creative. What made you realize that, okay, we have this asset tracking system? Like, what made you realize that that same system maybe could help with this physical device integrity across all these branches that you have?
Yeah, really, it was a timing thing. We had just completed doing our self-certification audits across the company. We were, fairly successful with that. As you know, with COVID, COVID changed the landscape for a lot of companies to where those that had folks in brick and mortar facilities, those folks were still having to come in. But a lot of our workforce, we had 7 call centers that wound up, we sent that workforce home remotely now. So we've got about 70% of our workforce now working either remote or in a hybrid environment. So being able to go through the self-certification audit and have a lot of success with that, I said, hey, why can't I use this form? I just need to filter this form, modify this form a little bit to make this process very simple, very easy to use. And the more simple and the more easier it is for them to do, the better the adoption rate will be with getting people to do this.
Yeah. How did you guys do that? How did you guys figure out? So is it correct to say that some of the prep work that you had to do, because things don't happen automatically, right? You had to do some prep work that had to assign those devices to those maybe branch managers or something in order for the daily audit to know who was validating which device, right?
Yeah, we had a lot of managers that wanted to keep all the assets under their area of responsibility and had a lot of them assigned to themselves. And so when we started going through the self-certification audit, we laid some ground rules and said, if you have this asset, if it's on your desk, you're using it, the asset's now going to be assigned to you. This was kind of a win-win situation for us. So one, the self-certification audit helped us to identify who had which devices. And then secondly, we had a lot of managers that had a lot of spare devices in their cabinet locked up. I think I had one manager that had I want to say 25 or 30 credit card devices in a locked cabinet. And once they identified, hey, I don't need to keep all of this because I have to now go through and audit all of these on a daily basis, and they didn't want to have to go through that. I said, hey, just return them back to us. Keep two or three. We want to make sure that something happens, you've got a spare on hand, but you don't need 25 or 30 of these devices. So we wound up getting a lot of inventory back, and the managers now, instead of them having to waste their time and go around and inspect all of these devices, it's being done by the employees. If the employees, it was a simple process for them. So it just turned out to be a win-win situation for us just by, you know, me looking at AssetTrack beyond what it was intended for. And this kind of falls in line with that. We need to audit these on a daily basis. And for any company that's out there, I think we all know, the last thing we want to see is our company spotlighted because, someone's credit card information or personal information got compromised and, got put out on the dark web or something like that. So this is very important. A lot of our folks understand this. We communicate these things frequently. So it was just a matter of looking at, how can I use AssetTrack a little bit differently to solve this problem? And it worked out. It was very successful.
Yeah, that's great. What a great story. So can you walk us briefly through what a typical daily self-certification audit looks like or how it works from inspecting the device to the reporting part?
Yeah, so we have a couple of different credit card devices in our environment. Some are the Ingenico devices where you've got the swipe and the pin pads, and we also have MagTech credit card and check swipes devices, all which retain credit card information. So as we've trained the users, they simply come in whichever device they have at their desk. They're going to physically touch it, see if there's any skins or anything that possibly the device was tampered with when they walked away from lunch or overnight or whatever the case might be. So they're just simply doing a very simple physical inspection. They come in, they log into their computer. As soon as their computer boots up, we have the browser load up automatically at the beginning of their day. So they're simply clicking on the link to go to ServiceNow. Right at the top banner of ServiceNow has the self-certification audit. They click on that. There's a drop down for the credit card self-certification audit. They click on that. It recognizes who they are by single sign-on, brings up the credit card device that's assigned to them. They click on the dog tag and answer the question and submit it. And now I've got, I think, pretty close to 900 users across our footprint logging these in across 3 different time zones. And by 11, 12 o'clock, I have pretty much 100% reporting accountability, across the enterprise that these devices are, not been tampered with. They're fully operational and no issues. Field controls, audit, they now have a real-time view with this as well because they're getting that reporting as well.
Yeah, that's cool. And that's no small feat, right? That's a lot happening in a very small amount of time. So now, David, we know that everything isn't always sunshine and roses and rainbows. So how did the staff handle the change? Because we all know that organizational change can be really challenging.
Yeah. So people were complaining initially, hey, I just did the self-certification audit. Why do I got to go through this again? Why do I got to do this on a daily basis? This is time consuming. And, we simply answered the questions for them. One, we made it very simple. It takes 30 seconds to do. This is not a time intensive task that, is going to take, all day for you to complete. The managers, they got a lot of time back because they weren't having to walk around and do all of this. They didn't have to fill out the reports. The report became automated for them. So we got the support from management. We got the support from their VPs. Now I've got field controls and audit coming back and going, hey, this is great. Now we've got real-time reporting in that. So everybody was in alignment, moving in the same direction. It was just, helping our employees to understand the importance of these inspections and these audits and this task so that, we didn't wind up on the 6 o'clock news, in a bad light. So everybody understood that. Once we kind of said, hey, this task isn't going to take you but 30 seconds to do. It's an easy one, and it solves a big problem. So everybody kind of followed in line with that.
That's great. That's great. Not easy to do, but you guys are doing it. So it's super exciting. So you said, I think, around 900 users, you're running about 600 to 1,000 audits a day. How do you, I guess, I think you kind of already answered it, but I'm going to ask you anyway to make sure we didn't miss anything. How did you make the process fast and consistent across all the locations? Because there's a lot of moving parts to coordinate.
Yeah, so like I said, we working with the field controls and working with the managers, we pushed them to do this, and there was a lot of communication between field controls and the branch managers and the leadership over those locations that had those devices, really pushing them to get their employees to be accountable to do this. So initially up front, it took some follow up, hey, we've got, Jane and, the Omaha branch, and, she hasn't done her audit today. What's going on? Okay, Jane's on PTO. Okay, well, we understand that, or she's out sick today. We understand life happens in that. So, for the most part, we're looking for consistency, and when we don't see the consistency is where we start to inquire, or, like I said, if someone's submitting a, hey, I've got a device and it's been tampered with, now I've got the employees who are doing the physical inspections to start raising their hand, talking to their manager, hey, I've got a device, that it's been tampered with. The last thing we want to do is, hey, take 10 more customers and come on in and, compromise us even more, right? And no, they know, hey, I got to stop. I can't take any customers. I can't take any payments right now until, we get the situation resolved.
Awesome. So now you have real-time visibility. How in ServiceNow, so how has that changed how your teams are responding to those potential security issues?
Yeah, great question. So again, this is a spotlight item. As soon as someone submits their audit and they flagged it as, I have this device, but it's been tampered with. One, it sends an email alert immediately to the field controls office, the audit group, as well as our information security group. And then a report is also generated in an email sent to their manager as well. So sometimes our managers have multiple branches, so they may not be at the branch that day, should that situation occur. But whether it's an assistant manager or a supervisor that is at the location, communications are happening almost immediately as soon as that's submitted, in that to say, hey, stop what you're doing, pull it out. We know that I already talked about our managers having, some had large inventories. We reduce those inventories, but we do have a hot spare on hand. We can pull it out. We can, exchange that device, stop them from servicing any more customers, and, possibly, expanding the compromise, even further than what it may or may not be.
Yeah, that's great. So important that mitigating that risk as fast as possible. So,
Mhm.
David, I have one more question, but before I do that, just to kind of summarize, you said you guys are doing or approximately 900-ish users are performing these audits, these inspections every single day, and they're
Mhm.
completed typically by noon every day. That's
Correct.
huge
Yep.
across all these branches, right? And it sounds like this new process and exercise has had a lot of benefits for you. One being you guys didn't even maybe anticipate just how many unused devices you were going to get returned. So that's a
Mhm.
huge benefit that maybe you didn't even consider coming out of the gate. You
Yep.
decrease the time of the inspection, automated events, to mitigate those risks when things are tampered with. Managers got time back in their day. Is that all accurate?
That's all accurate.
All right,
Yeah. This
that's
this was a
really,
big win for us.
yeah, huge win. So last but certainly not least question, what would you say to other organizations who are considering expanding the use of AssetTrack beyond the normal IT laptops and keyboards and things like that? And what's been your biggest takeaway?
Yeah. So, I know we were chatting yesterday and today, and, asset management is not that, exciting, opportunity that everybody wants to grow up and become an asset manager, right? But it is it is needed, and
Yeah.
it has a lot of value, right? So, it, my my thing to other folks that are, in the same situation as I am is, the cost of doing business is getting more costly each and every day. I think we all know that. So we're all looking for ways to save money, find efficiencies, put more time back in our day, so we can, spend time on the what I would consider, higher priorities or more important things to, that we've got to get done. And in this particular situation, I was able to look at AssetTrack at, what it could do. And just going through the self-certification, I was able to look at, hey, is there another way that I can utilize this tool? In that just with a modification of a form, which I want to say it took your team, maybe a half hour or an hour to create for me, another hour with our ServiceNow team to put the link on the page. And then it was all about how do I, how do I communicate this with the leadership and, the field controls and audit, and that get the buy-in. But really it's looking at how can I use this in a different manner or a different way to solve another problem? And believe it or not, sometimes the most simple process changes bring some of the biggest results and some of the best results. And that was just a simple change. So it's really just kind of, sitting back, taking a deep breath and looking at it just a little bit differently. And how can I maximize the use of my tools?
That's just fantastic. David, thank you so much for sharing your story and just for being so open about your journey and even the struggles you had initially, to get people's buy-in. It's just incredible. And I hope that this has sparked a few ideas for all of the rest of you listening. And David, you're going to be available during the Q&A in case anybody has questions for you, I believe. And then
Yeah,
last but certainly not, you will be?
yes, I'll be here available for questions.
Perfect. And last but certainly not least, David is the reason for my spot in last month's webinar about reducing ghost IT asset property taxes. And I just wanted to give credit where credit was due. David's doing some incredible things. Thank you so much, David. I really appreciate it. We're going to move on now to a poll question. And everybody answer this, please, outside of computers and laptops, the normal IT stuff. What's the most important things for your company to be tracking? All right. Oh, consumables is a clear winner so far. Awesome. Well, just to keep this moving along, um, I'm going to hand this over to our operations manager, Michelle Sawyer. to take you through some of our operational updates and some of the great things that her and the team have been doing this year. Take it away, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. And thank you, David. That was some great stuff there. All right, so good morning, good afternoon. I'd like to take just a couple of minutes to share some of the operational highlights with all of you. But before I do, I just want to thank you, our customers, because you've pushed us really to become better at what we do by providing us feedback, taking our surveys, and working closely with us. So with that said, let me share some of the improvements we've made and are continuing to make. So to start with, we knew we could serve you guys better by providing quicker resolution time on your tickets. So we started by looking back at 2023, where you can see your tickets were taking on average 141 hours to resolve, right? So what did we notice? We noticed that some of the issues we were having were just in general, resolution times were just taking way too long, right? Clearly. And a lot of the time, we spent a lot of time going back and forth via email. So what did we do? We built out some formal processes. We tightened up our SLAs, and we redesigned how we triage and respond to your tickets. So some of you may have even noticed that we've started calling you proactively the moment a ticket comes in. That came directly from hearing that issues could be resolved faster if we simply talked it through with you, right? And because of this, our average resolution time dropped from 141 hours to 26 hours to just 21 hours this year, right? A couple things that you can do to help us continue this improvement is by the more information you provide, the faster our team can help you. Make sure to contact us when you're available to troubleshoot. Please provide a callback number, or if you can't be reached by phone, give us a time when you're available to meet, right? Let us know what version you're on, and then let us know what's happening, but what you expect to happen. These may sound like very simple things, but when we get them up front, support goes a lot faster and smoother. So let's talk about surveys. We know people don't like surveys. I'll be the first to admit I delete most I get. We recognized we had a low response rate to our surveys as well. To continue encouraging feedback, earlier this year, we redesigned our survey to include quick satisfaction emojis. Everybody loves a quick smiley or angry face, right? And gave the email a little more fun subject line than your usual survey request. And we've also started to include a follow-up in our ticket closure that will remind you that you might get a survey. And you know what? You responded nicely to that, so much that our response rate has doubled. And I'm going to give a shout out to my 12-year-old who last night helped me fix my PowerPoint slide because I totally screwed up my response rate there. So yay. But thank you guys for sharing what you love, what needs work, and where we can improve. We value this information. And without it, we don't know how we're doing. So simply put, please continue to take our surveys. Now, let's talk about our knowledge base. Let me ask you, and Courtney, can you launch our poll here? How many of you knew that we have a knowledge base available to you? And I'll give you a second to answer that. All right, well, earlier this year, we refreshed the entire look and feel of the self-service portal to make it easier and more modern. We worked on cleaning up the current knowledge articles that we had. And today, our current customers have access to nearly 250 knowledge articles, including 40 that we added this year alone. And these aren't just break fix articles, but they also include documentation and guidance on features that many of you might not even be using yet. You can use the search option in the center, or you can browse the categories
And you'll see a couple that are here. My screen's not showing them all. And if you didn't know, you can submit a request right here from the self-service portal. I'm going to have Courtney also paste a link in our chat to the knowledge base. So if you have not gone in there, please go. I highly encourage you to check it out. And if you haven't ever logged in before, you will get prompted to create an account, and just create one with your organization and you'll be all set. So definitely please take a look at that. And to continue with the knowledge base, this feedback came through loud and clear from you guys. You have been asking for short, simple videos to explain features, walk through steps, and even help you guys train your teams. So, drum roll, we have started adding them. We've got 5 available right now, with more in progress. And just like everything else that I've kind of talked about today, this is something you guys have helped directly influence. So I want to thank you for letting me share some of our operational highlights with you guys. We're committed to continuously improving your experience, and everything that we've shared today is part of an ongoing effort. It's not a one-time change. Your feedback is really critical part of that process. So please continue to take those surveys, tell us what's working, and where we can do better. So with that, I will turn it over to our CEO and founder, Tom Watson, to share our roadmap for 2026 and beyond.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. Get myself going here. Thank you very much. Stop. All right, here we go. All right, thanks everybody. Thank you very much, first of all, everybody, for joining today. We really appreciate your time. We really appreciate your partnership. I want to especially thank David Duncan for joining in today and sharing his success and what he's been able to accomplish with the software. It makes me really proud to hear that. We really appreciate your business. You guys are the backbone of this company, not just the customers, but also the team here. I also really appreciate Michelle, both Michelles, the 1L and the 2Ls, for really focusing on supporting our customers as best as we can and continuously learning and continuously evolving. I get the pleasure of kind of sharing some of the new stuff that we've been working on, where the company's going. But it's really the team here they're the real backbone of the company, supporting you guys as customers. And I'm just really proud of what we've accomplished over the last 23 years. I still can't quite believe that. Over those 23 years, there's been a core thread that is the sort of the crystal that this tribe, meaning you, our customers, and the people that work here, the crystal that crystallizes this, that this whole tribe forms around. And it is what I believe, it's AMI's singular focus on one thing, as opposed to other software companies that focus on many different disciplines. We've really narrowed in on one and have tried to be the best at that. And that's this hardware asset management space. David stole my joke. We even joked about him stealing my joke, which is that this isn't the hottest, flashiest domain of hardware asset management. However, all of us, myself, and I believe all of you, want to take pride in your work, want to feel valuable to your companies, and want to be seen and trusted as someone who can tackle a super complex problem, deliver great results, so that you can be seen as a trusted resource and to feel good about the work that you're doing. And this hardware asset management domain it could be any domain where you apply that passion to. We, through circumstance, have really focused our passion in this area, and because of that focus, we feel that we've really led the space. And by leading the space, and what I mean is that the most mature and advanced hardware asset managers join this tribe and choose to work with AMI because of our singular focus on it. And what we realized a long time ago is that success in hardware asset management is more than just building software tools or designing processes, but designing those tools to be human-centric, because it's hardware asset management exists in the real world. There's stock rooms and closets and cables and dusty data centers that hopefully not too dusty, people are climbing around in, moving physical objects around and being held accountable for maintaining an accurate asset database amongst all that chaos. And you can design a great workflow and a great PowerPoint presentation. Software engineers can build out super complex data models with disposal workflows with 128 steps that show, perfect compliance if everything's filled out correctly. But if humans can't follow those processes, or they don't have tools that make that quick, fast, and efficient, then the process breaks down and the whole system doesn't deliver what it needs to. So what, because we understand that, we've tried to build tools, in the shape of these forms on these devices that, once learned, are super quick and fast and easy to use, but are also fully traceable, tracked, so that an asset manager can guarantee that people are following the process. We need the tools to be fast and efficient, but we need the governance and the control. Since we've focused on that, that's why the most advanced hardware asset management companies have chosen our tool, or chosen our solution and our company to partner with. And it's people like David Duncan who just demonstrated that, really focusing on a specific problem, understanding the day-to-day impact on the managers and the people at those branches that have to perform these audits, that driving their the resistance, the driving the efficiency of those processes as much as possible is what delivers the results. Anyway, but so we've taken that core thread and we've taken it from platform to platform to platform. Back in the day, it was Computer Associates, then to Hewlett Packard, then to Service, and more recently, to ServiceNow. But it's that. In many ways, we've been doing the same thing for 23 years, making human-centric asset management processes efficient using automated technology. So, but what we've also heard over the years, David just mentioned being able to make, how easy it was to make a small tweak to the AssetTrack form to really, trigger a huge change in process. Even though that's true, and AssetTrack has provided you tools to easily change a form and tweak validation and reorder things, it's been limited in what you can do. You can create certain types of forms, you can add fields to it, but we've also heard feedback from customers that they need more control to customize the UI and to be able to put help text on and to lay things out differently and trigger different behavior when you do different things. And they need much more configurability or the ability to customize. We've also heard that working with ServiceNow development teams inside enterprises can be really laborious and time consuming. Making small tweaks to the ServiceNow to ServiceNow instance, you can have 9-month, 12-month backlogs, and companies or asset managers and asset management teams want to have more control and flexibility to modify things without, and to move much more quickly. We've also heard just skyrocketing costs for ServiceNow, and not just ServiceNow, but other large enterprise software licensing costs that, are arguably like outpacing the value that's being delivered from those companies. So we've kind of like taken all that input and we've identified a space or a need in the market, which is that asset managers of mid-tier companies all the way up to enterprise, they need enterprise-grade foundation that ServiceNow and Salesforce and other platforms provide in terms of compliance and in security, robust security, immutable audits, scalability, performance, flexibility, development tools, et cetera. They need powerful customization and the ability to integrate and tie in other systems at reasonable, cost-effective prices. And now that data is portable with, with AI tools changing or reducing the friction of being able to move things around, we think that the market needs additional options. And so what AMI has done, has been working on for a while now, is to create what we call the AMI platform, so that we can take what we're doing, that the same tools we've been delivering, empower users to do more with those tools, but then take them to any platform, including to companies that don't have a data platform to work with today. So, what is the AMI platform? Why did we build one? It is a platform that provides the flexibility to develop at a very a much more extensive level UIs and workflows, so that you can not just extend AssetTrack and change the behavior of it to trigger different workflows, et cetera, much more flexibly, but to even build entirely new applications on, which I'm going to talk about as we talk about into the future. And we think this also provides much greater control for asset management teams to not just customize, but to secure those workflows with better role-based access controls. And it also provides portability, so that for non-ServiceNow customers, or customers that are using ServiceNow, maybe want to exit, mid-tier companies that don't really want to pay the fees for ServiceNow. What we've done is we've really separated. We've got AssetTrack, which is available, which we're continuing to innovate and can work on the ServiceNow platform. Now we can really take it anywhere, which we're super excited about. The difference, between other platforms is its simplicity, flexibility. It's got that enterprise grade foundation, whereas point solutions out there, asset management solutions that are like SaaS products that you might be looking at, are good at what they do, but they don't have that development studio for building and customizing. They don't have the scalability, the immutable audit trails, the scalability, the encryption at rest, the SOC 2 compliance, everything that an enterprise grade customer needs, but again, at the mid-market cost. So we're really excited to be able to now, take a form and tweak it by adding a new field or adding a new validation rules, but being able to create completely new user experiences at a full developer type level. So we've been working on this for quite some time. We're now ready to ship the very first product on the AMI Tracks platform, which is AssetTrack. So using our new UI framework and data platform and workflow engine, we're building the AssetTrack product, which is coming available now to our first customers, to early innovators. I've got a little video here that I'm going to show, just a quick demo of what the product can do, and then I'll come back here and I'll talk about the where we're going from here. And all that practice I did about sharing my screen with the sound turned on, I didn't click the button. So now for my second act, I'm going to click that share audio button so you can watch. All right. Thank you for that, for listening to that. So let me stop sharing here for a second. So that video was a demo of the AssetTrack product on the AMI platform. And what that video doesn't, demonstrate, which it's not meant to, but what it doesn't demonstrate and is the tools that we use internally to build that app that you just saw. So the data modeling tool, the drag and drop UI designer, which you saw, goes way beyond what we do with AssetTrack with, our single forms, our bulk forms. Now we can lay out full forms with tabs and lay things out as we want, images on screen, text boxes, anywhere we want. A full scripting engine so that we can configure behaviors with all the stuff that we're great at with the mobility, our scanning tools. We've got the charting framework. There's a whole suite of tools that are now available for us to create apps and to create workflows and really customize things. We are releasing the products ourselves first. Over time, we will then open up those tools for AssetTrack customers to be able to do more advanced customizations themselves. Way down the road, we'll start building other apps. Third parties will build apps, and we'll rock and roll from there. But we're really excited about this. This is our first, the first product that we're launching is obviously AssetTrack because that's our core focus. That's where our domain expertise is. But we have a whole new set of tools to be able to do the stuff that we do. We're going to continue to advance the AssetTrack for ServiceNow product, but we're going to have a whole new set of tools to be able to build new solutions to continue to advance asset management solutions for customers. So get back to my video here. So just kind of a quick recap. Looking back, we shared some of the operational improvements that that 1L Michelle showed. We're continuing to invest in improving our support for our customers, and we've made great progress there. Thank you, Michelle. We talked about the AssetTrack 6.0 release and that unification of forms. Talk to our teams, read the knowledge base. You can now do things with, you're working with, we mentioned the poll results where the consumables were the biggest problem. Now you can go and audit and move and track assets and consumables all within the same form, which is cool. Audit different asset classes all within one form. A lot of opportunity to streamline things there. And then we talked obviously about the launch of the AMI platform. So in 2026 is look for AssetTrack on the AMI platform, the official release of that. We've got an early innovator program that's active now. If you're interested in taking a look at AssetTrack, contact us and we'll talk to you about that. We're going to continue to innovate in AssetTrack for ServiceNow. We're looking at improving additional controls for the UI to provide some better training. Put some help stuff on screen to make it easier to onboard AssetTrack for ServiceNow users. Some telemetry so you can monitor usage and understand what's going on. Better dashboarding and reporting based on feedback that we've got from you guys over the past year. Everybody's talking AI. We're not, pretending. I'm not here to pretend like we're going to be the next ChatGPT. Our focus with AI is AMI, AssetTrack is going to be the MCP server for hardware asset managers. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. What it means is a trusted source of hardware asset information to which you can connect AI workflows. So an AI agents, that is, as whatever AI agent or AI-based workflow that you're using, when it needs hardware asset data, it needs that data to be trusted, complete, current, and accurate. And it will do so by accessing AssetTrack as an MCP server. Making it an MCP server means it's compatible with whatever AI workflows. It's a standard protocol to connect AI agents. And in the AssetTrack and AssetTrack for ServiceNow space. We're looking at AI-based audit court orchestration to help you identify where you need to perform audits, to create audit definitions and schedule those automatically, as well as just providing more natural language report and development tools so you can describe what you want to do and have those things, instead of having to manually build tools there. So that's the end of my spiel. If you have more questions, please obviously contact us. We're going to be publishing more about the AMI platform in the coming weeks. We're super excited about it. I want to talk about it more, but my time's kind of up here. So I'm going to move just to our last poll of the day, if I can figure out how to do that. What are your biggest hardware asset management pain points for next year? We got top 2. So a poll is going to magically appear right now, I think. All right. Thank you, Courtney. Improving asset data quality and automation is the leader there. It's just the continuing struggle, the more and more we can do to improve data quality and automation. Cool. All right, thanks everybody. I'm going to kick it back to Courtney now. Thanks for your time. Look forward to talking to you guys at the next one, if not sooner.
Thanks, Tom. Michelle's. Feel free to, if you want to turn your cameras on in case anybody has any questions for you specifically. But we do have one question that Joey had submitted, and this is for David Duncan. He is curious if this is best practice to audit credit card readers daily for accountability and physical inspection of tampering.
Yeah, so for us, it's not, it became a daily thing. It was a weekly situation, but given that the number of incidents for potential compromise of credit card information and PII information has increased exponentially over the years, it only made sense that we were able to take this to a daily inspection to reduce and eliminate that possibility.
Awesome. Thank you, David. I do have a couple questions that not anybody in particular asked about our platform, but maybe some questions that people have in their minds as Tom was talking and would be just good information to have. So Tom, is this, and I know that a lot of our customers are using ServiceNow. So is the AMI platform, AssetTrack on the AMI platform, is it just for companies that don't use ServiceNow? Or could it be?
No. It ties into any system, so ServiceNow included. So yeah, the same, all the tools that we've got will work with your ServiceNow instance as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom. Actually, I have another question for you about platform.
Okay.
When will people have to migrate? So will our current customer base, maybe that is not on ServiceNow, will they have to migrate over to this platform?
You said that are not on ServiceNow, so the legacy AssetTrack server customers, is that what you mean?
Yeah, it could. Yeah, probably
Yes.
most relevant.
Yeah. They will, but we're going to make that easy. We already have a migration utility because the AssetTrack legacy database is it's fixed for everyone except for the custom field definitions, which anyway, the data model for every instance of the legacy server is the same with a minor version. So we've got a migration utility that'll copy that data over. We've already got that built. So we're still just testing it with our first initial legacy customers, but it will be an easy migration, I promise.
Awesome. And then I just want to actually add to that answer, because that is about legacy, but maybe the ServiceNow folks are asking the same question, which Tom already answered previously, but another way that maybe our ServiceNow customers can think about using platform, if it doesn't pertain to them and their practices, but like if a large organization has facilities teams out there or field teams out there that aren't using ServiceNow, that want another tool or something outside of it, this would be a great software for that as well. I just wanted to add that in there. Any other questions from anybody out in the crowd? If you can think of any. Oh, we have one for David. If you could go back and give yourself a piece of advice before starting your asset management journey, what would it be?
Oh, good question. I guess understanding and kind of defining what the processes are and understanding all of those nuances that go along with the process is what would have helped my journey go a lot faster and a lot easier. And, I really want to thank the AMI team because, you guys have made my life a whole lot easier, since we started working together. I would probably say and I think someone had mentioned in the chat when Tom was doing his last survey about offboarding. And offboarding is a big challenge for us, especially having a remote workforce. I just implemented a new solution with the UPS store to try and, expedite the return of equipment. Going to save the company about $250,000 a year. But Tom and Michelle and us, we were talking a little bit earlier. I've got some other innovative ideas where the technology is there. We just got to figure out, how to implement it, get the right price point, and, see where we can take this to the next level in the years to come. And that, help reduce some of the touch points from some of our end users and, get some automation, into play, whether that's just, automatic capturing of devices or, using AI technology to help assist with that.
Yeah, and David, I just wanted to tag on to that about the process stuff. Building solid processes that people trust is huge, because that's what you did. And that's why people felt comfortable sending those 25 additional credit card readers to you, because they trusted that the process that you were building would work, and they wouldn't need to keep that many on hand, right? So I think you nailed it with process for sure. That's how we gain trust, right?
All right, question. For teams getting started with AssetTrack or looking to expand its use beyond the traditional ITAM, like David, what would you recommend they do in the first 30 days?
I would say, I would just say identify the highest value, asset classes and do one, that's where I was going to go with that, and do it in asset class by asset class and do one at a time.
Yeah, I think that's super important. And I think understanding and documenting what your current process is, so that it's easier to identify the gaps that you need to fill too.
David, question. So you talked about specifically using AssetTrack self-certification for the credit card readers. Do you, just out of curiosity, and maybe this will land more with our traditional ITAM trackers on the call, how do you use AssetTrack with your computers, laptops, or just your classic hardware equipment, IT hardware equipment?
Yeah, so we use AssetTrack in a couple of different areas. One is self-certification audits, which we talked about. We, use the credit card form for the daily credit card readers. I use AssetTrack for inventory of all of our stock rooms. I use AssetTrack for doing IT physical audits. So one of our audit requirements is all physical buildings have to be physically touched and audited once every 24 months. So I've split up the company into two different methods or 2 different years in that to load balance a little bit and do that. Um, I'm curious on the shipping and receiving portion of it. Tom, I was pretty excited about what you were showing there with the receiving portion. We do a lot of advanced ship notices with our products and upload those into a ServiceNow system. So I'm curious to dive into that a little bit and see how that, if there's areas of improvement that I can utilize the new AssetTrack 6.0 in that platform to help even automate that even further.
There's opportunities already with just AssetTrack for ServiceNow as it is today. It works like perfectly well with preloaded, receiving against preloaded ASN records, assuming you're bringing those into the ALM hardware table.
Yep.
So it's good opportunity there. There was something else you just said I was going to ask you, David. Have you guys ever talked about or considered sample sample audits? You may be doing that now, but by sample audit, it's something I'm super excited about, but I don't think has been like adopted or as widely as I dreamed it would be. Sample audits being where you send an auditor to a location and they go scan 10 assets as opposed to all 1,000, but do it in an organized way where they have to go capture a small sample and they're forced to never scan the same assets again. So every week, go to a building, scan 10 assets of these certain classes. And if you scan those assets in the last year, they don't count. So you got to go and get more. And it works for at least one of our large healthcare clients. Their audit teams or their compliance departments are satisfied with that. As long as they perform regular sample audits and they can guarantee that the same samples aren't being taken over and over again, they can extrapolate data quality. Have you?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So there's checks and balances to our system. So one, I'm kind of the field control portion of this where I'm scanning and inventorying every asset once every 2 years and then doing the self-certification annually. Our internal audit team is the one auditing me and what I'm doing, and they do sample audits just as you've just described in that on an annual basis for me. In that it's a there's other controls and purposes for us inventorying everything and doing the self-certification audit. Someone had mentioned offboarding before. So when COVID hit and 70% of our workforce went home, it became a real big challenge and a very costly learning experience on trying to get people to return equipment on a timely basis. And by us going through and doing the self-certification process annually, it is putting a record in our system where an individual that has not returned that equipment has essentially said, "Hey, I logged in, I identified, I own this equipment, and I'm the owner of it. Now the liability lies with them because they haven't returned it." It gives us an avenue to pursue, corrective action or garnishment or impacting them in other ways until they can return that equipment. So that's the reason we go to those lengths, is to be able to pursue those avenues and recover our costs in the equipment.
Awesome. thanks to I saw Alan Atkins. He was the one who posted that option that we didn't have on our poll. So thank you, Alan, for that. Yeah, I'd be curious to see with other thumbs up or chats, is offboarding a priority for your business as well? Give us a thumbs up or a chat or something if that's resonating with you. That'd be good feedback. David, you don't count. You already just said that.
I can tell you, Tom, just from talking to my customers, that it's been something that's definitely come up as something people need help with for sure, offboarding.
And the solution or the assistance to that solution that AssetTrack provides is that record of acknowledgement from the end user that you can use to do punitive actions, or to, essentially, as opposed to, and then of course we want drones to go fly to the person's house and go grab the equipment. And, otherwise, how do you get people to go to the UPS store and drop the thing off? And you can send them a box and have it just insert here. It's pre-labeled and everything, but why are they going to do it? Especially if they've just been let go and they're not super happy with you. Right now as a company, it is a big problem. But having that record of, that's a key first step there. So at least gives you a legal basis to do, the garnishment and et cetera.
Got a question about sample audits. So where can we find more information on sample audits and its capabilities? Could it work for internal book to floor and floor to book audits? To book floor to floor audits?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I'm sure our awesome fancy knowledge base has like extremely well written content there describing where to find more information of it. But like PLDR, AssetTrack allows you to define audit definitions. Using advanced audit, you create your audit definitions that define the scope of your audit. You can generate, audits for, of clones of those for all your stock rooms, all your locations, and for certain regions and all that stuff. At the audit definition level, you can define optionally samples that let you choose to specify subsets. So, typically by model category, and then quantities of the sample size. So I need 10 printers, 10 switches, 10 laptops or whatever. So, and then AssetTrack will then go do the sample audit, produce the results, and give you an audit result based on that sample. But that's only one piece of the puzzle. Your audit regulator, the people that define the audit requirements, have to accept a sample audit as valid. So, and we can't make your audit team do that. The audit team, like David, your audit team is coming in. They've decided that sample audits are sufficient to prove data quality. Any audit regulated team should, like your credit card machine, like super sensitive asset classes, maybe they have different requirements whether sample audits will work for those given the PII sensitivity. But if it's a cost control, you've got your laptops locked down, you're mainly just concerned about saving costs, sample audits should, but you're going to have to work with your audit team to get into an agreement that they'll accept sample audit results to satisfy their book to floor audits. I mean, the book to floor thing to me just means the database versus reality. To us and a number of our customers, sample audits are sufficient. You can extrapolate data accuracy with a smaller sample size and avoid doing wall-to-wall audits. And by enabling your audits to happen much more frequently, you can make those processes, you can do auditing so much more regularly that to me, it seems like everybody should be doing it that way. It hasn't quite picked up as much, like I said, as much as I thought. And that may just be a communication education thing.
Tom, I would probably say that sample audits work really well if your inventory is fairly accurate. if you've got a lot of issues and a lot of concerns, those sample audits are going to start to raise those issues very quickly and may
Right, right.
spawn into,
Yeah,
other
if your
actions that have to
sample
take place, right?
audits, yeah, if your sample audits are you're getting garbage results on your samples, then that quickly triggers like the need to go do wall to wall. Yeah, for certain. Yeah, it doesn't replace them at all. But I'd like to see just regular sample auditing happen because it's so easy I mean, you can have a whole army of techs go do just quick audits, in a few minutes, just go and collect a sample. And it's such a rich source of data to then react to.
Good chat. I'm just gonna post, if there are no other questions that come in, I'm just gonna post the last poll that we have, which is, what topics do you want covered in the 2026 ITAM webinar series? If you guys aren't aware already, we have been doing webinars more frequently lately, and we want to hear what you guys want to hear from us. Figured RFID would be, ooh.
Yeah. RFID. Everyone loves RFID.
Yep, totally. All right, very cool. All right, let's see if there's any more chats that pop up. I think we are good to go. I know we're done a little bit early, but I'm sure people have plenty of work to do this time of year, meetings to hop on. So great discussions today, great segments. Thanks, Tom and the Michelles and David. Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you, all of our customers or non-customers. I actually have a question for not maybe people that are on here that are not customers, which is 1L, Michelle, if people are curious about our knowledge base but can't get in because they are not a customer, who do they contact?
Yeah, I would request that they reach out to sales@amitrax.com.
Okay.
That
Very
way we
cool.
can help them, and yeah.
I will drop, thank you for that. I will drop
Yeah.
the sales email in here in case anybody's interested in talking to us about our product, or just any customers, you know, who to turn to, our help center or Michelle or anybody, you know, that you normally talk to. Feel free to reach out to for any questions. And thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you in the new year.
Yeah. Have a great holiday.
Thanks, y'all. Happy
Thank
holidays.
you.
Bye.